Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Sports on the Positive Tip, where we have conversations at the intersection of sports and faith. I'm here with Kenny Squared. Kenny, I did not know. We're not going to make fun of people, right, on this podcast, but I did not know until yesterday that Anthony Davis's nickname was Street Clothes.
Buddy,
Apparently, that's what all the other NBA players call him, and I'm like, that's not flattering, right?
no, you don't want to be known as street clothes. I'm surprised Kawhi isn't that guy.
Yeah. He's probably called something like that too, and Paul George as well. It's a shame because all three of those guys we just named are wonderful players when they play. They never play, you know. Although I think Kawhi is playing right now, and so is George. But the reason why I brought that up is that Nico Harrison got fired yesterday as the GM of the Mavericks, and you and I said this maybe a show or two after the Doncic trade that eventually he was going to get fired, and I think that trade happened in February, so it's like 8, 9 months later. What were your thoughts?
He should have gotten fired at the end of last year, honestly. Like, the trade still makes zero sense.
No,
And you can argue all you want Cooper Flag, but if you Cooper Flag and Luka Doncic on the same team would have been quite the tandem.
I
But also they fumbled Jalen Brunson. I don't know what they're doing.
yeah, somehow wish Mark Cuban was still owning that team, right? Um, Here's the only thing that bothers me though, Ken. I don't feel bad for it, Nico. That was an awful trade, one of the worst trades that I can remember. Um, but there's no way that he made that trade by himself. He had to get the owner to sign off on it, right? And other people to sign off on it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because like a sane person would look and be like, okay, are you sure we really want to trade Luka Doncic? Wait, no. Are you sure we really want to trade Luka Doncic for
Yeah,
a guy that is
that
very
never
injury
played.
prone?
Yeah, that
His
never
nickname is Street Clothes.
played. They had to know that, right? But so that's my point, right? Um, okay, he's the expert, he's the GM. But it seemed to me, remember we read those articles after and how the whole organization, particularly the training staff, had such a problem with Luca that they felt like he just totally wasn't on board. And unlike, how Tom Brady brought in his own person to train him, when Doncic tried to do that, they're like, no, you can't do that. You got to listen to our trainers. Then there was also that video of, I want to say it was Rolando Blackman. It was one of the ex-players that still works there. He's doing an interview, but he's holding a bottle of beer, and the guy walks past him and says, "Yeah, you don't need this." And so there was that whole narrative that they were trying to create that he was in poor shape. He wouldn't, he wasn't in the training room when he had an injury. And so it led to this. So it makes me think that it was almost like an organizational decision to trade him. But somebody, I guess, and this is a sad commentary, right? Not just in sports, but in life, somebody has to take the fall for that, right? I mean, and I guess it's him because he had to push for that trade. Because remember, um, the whole thing came out after this was that he didn't shop him around. He didn't talk to anybody else. So I think it's one thing if you make an organizational decision that you're going to trade this guy, one of the top five players in the NBA and still very young. But it's a whole other thing if you just go to one team and you want one player. Now they got a very good player. I'm forgetting, you'll remember the wingman's name who comes off the bench and he's very good. They got one or two other serviceable players, right? But Anthony Davis was obviously the centerpiece, of what they would get from the Lakers. But I'm just thinking, if it's an organizational thing, why didn't they go to other teams? Because they could have got draft picks. They could have got a lot more, which might have eased the pain of this a little bit more, And at some point, this also goes to show here, and I'll let you get the last word here. This also goes to show that at some point, you can't take this type of fan backlash. They were still on opening night hollering "Fire Nico," and the other night it was horrible how they were yelling that, because they were getting blown out by somebody. The fact that they've gotten off to a really bad start definitely hasn't helped their case. All right, your final thoughts on this.
Yeah, the other guy is Max Christie for
He's a very good player. Very good player. He's going to be a really solid NBA player.
but yeah, like you're telling me, like, okay, let's say you're done with him and you want to trade him. Dumb, but whatever. You're telling me that if you don't say that to the masses, that you're not going to get this extremely crazy offer. Like, would the Bucks have traded Giannis and 3 picks for Luka?
Possibly.
Would the Nuggets have traded Nikola Jokic straight up? Like, I feel like doing it secretly is kind of what it seems like really did them a disservice, and it definitely cost Nico Harrison his job.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. All right, we have got a lot to get into. Baseball, we've got this whole betting scandal that we're going to continue to talk about. I'm going to give you plenty of time to talk about your feelings now on your coach getting let go. We got to talk about the Browns and Jets game. You've got your NFL rankings, which I love how it looks. And then we'll sprinkle in some NBA with the deaths of Lenny Wilkins and Michael Ray Richardson. You ready to get this going?
Let's get into it.
This episode of Sports on the Positive Tip is brought to you by the Tavern Coffee House. Attention, coffee lovers! Are you craving the perfect cup of coffee to start your day? Well, look no further than the Tavern Coffee House. It's located at 12302 Buckeye Road in Cleveland, Ohio. You can also check them out and order your coffee at thetaverncoffee.com. Hey there, everybody. This is Kenny and
Any squared.
with the sports on the Positive Tip podcast. Kenny, I get the alert, and I wish I had. We should have waited till we got on the air because I wish I had saw your face. The alert that the Mets are very interested in Cody Bellinger, and the look on your face was like, "What?" So, I mean, Cody Bellinger would be a great fit on a lot of teams. He certainly would be a great fit on the Mets. Are you thinking the Yankees are going to retain him? I mean, if they get into a bidding war with the Mets unfortunately are going to win that. Unfortunately for you.
Yeah, Mets have a lot of money coming off the books, I believe, too.
Yeah, yeah,
Yankees do too. They're going to stop paying Aaron Hicks this year. So,
yeah, yeah.
um, but yeah, but also I could see this being a Boris thing. Like, you know what happened to my client last year, Juan Soto, Yankees? You
Yeah.
better pay up.
This is
So
true.
we'll
This is
see.
true. This is very true. All right. It's just these coincidences that you happen to live in Cleveland now, and you and your wonderful family and your wonderful church family. But Cleveland just seems to stay in the news with some of these sports stories, and it's right smack in the middle with the whole Luis Ortiz and Emmanuel Clase being arrested. Now, Clase hasn't been arrested yet, which I think is also very interesting and not a lot on folks aren't talking about because he's not in the country. He's somewhere in the Dominican Republic. And I'm just wondering if they have to get their extradition stuff right or whatever. But there's something underlying there. If I'm him, I'm not coming back. But so Ortiz is arrested. Clase is going to be arrested at some point. And Ken, I started to see some of the things you had been taught. You had been looking at this earlier in the summer, and the Class A thing that really got me was where when he throws a pitch to, they're playing the Dodgers, and he throws a pitch to Pages, and it's supposed to be a ball, and it's way outside, but Pages swings at it, and so you can actually bet on balls and strikes, velocity and stuff like that, which is changing, by the way. We'll get into that in a second, but um, but he doesn't even bother to use somebody else's phone. He uses his own phone, and somebody text messages him with toilet paper hanging around a guy's neck, and then he texts something back. I forgot what it was. Um, or like sad puppy dog. Yeah, something like that. And so it sounds like, I mean, we're all innocent till proven guilty, but it sounds like not only MLB, but the FBI have a lot on these two guys. So my question is, first of all, what are you thinking? What do you think is going to happen next? But what is the news like there in Cleveland with these two guys?
I think it's well, I'll tell you this. It's a good thing that the Browns played the Jets this weekend and did what they did. We'll talk about that later
Yeah.
because otherwise people would be infuriated.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
like my first impression is, what are you doing? Just like we talked about with the NBA scandal that happened a couple weeks ago. Like Emmanuel Clase in his career has made over $15 million,
Yeah.
and he was set to be a free agent in a couple years. He was set to make 10 million next year.
Yeah.
Uh,
It
no,
can't be
this
about
year's
the money, right?
yeah. Well, like yeah, it can't be about the money because like he was set to make 10 million in 27, 28 each year, and then was set to be a free agent after that. You can make a case he's the best closer in baseball,
Yeah.
hitting the free agent market. Assuming Cleveland didn't take him, I mean, he would easily overpass Edwin Diaz's contract. Like that's where, if not anymore, but that's where I would
More
start.
reliable than I mean, I love Edwin Diaz, but he was more reliable than Diaz, not this past year, but the previous 2 years, he had historic seasons, you know?
Yeah. So like you're talking, you would make nine figures, which like not a lot of guys get there,
Right.
and you threw it away for $14,000.
Yeah.
Like either one of two things, like either one, you thought you were too good for the like you were too over the top and no one would ever catch you,
Yeah.
so you thought you could get away with it, or which I don't believe this one, and I'll explain why in a sec. Or someone has something on you, or like yeah, like whether cartels, mafia, whatever is like threatening the lives of your family unless you do this.
Could
I don't
be.
know.
Yeah. Who knows?
Um, the only thing that kind of leads me towards the first one is he did receive a PED suspension in the past, so he might have that mindset that he can get away with it.
Yeah.
Um, Regardless, I think first of all, I love you had kind of alluded to it. Baseball has kind of already changed a little bit of the prop bets now,
Yeah.
where you cannot bet over $200
Right.
period on
Right.
any single player prop bet. I
Right.
think it's good.
This is a
Um,
start. It's a start.
it's a start. Uh, but I think the thing that is just so shocking is that, and also kind of alarming, is now these pitches, it's all first pitches and it's a non-competitive ball. It's not really gonna like alter the results of a game. Um, like yeah, sure, if you get like a borderline 3-2 pitch or whatever, like okay, you it might slightly alter the game, but for the most part, like stuff like this, it's not going to alter the game, which kind of opens up Pandora's box a little bit and makes you wonder: are
Yeah.
there more players that are financially benefiting by kind of stacking the deck against these sports betting companies?
Hmm.
Are there coaches and managers who are making subtle decisions that won't affect the outcome of the game, but will affect the outcome of whatever three-leg parlay they have? Are there referees that, oh, I don't know, maybe I need Jonathan Taylor to go for a third touchdown. So even though I never called this holding penalty that has nothing to do with the play, I'm going to call it anyway so that hopefully on the next play, Jonathan Taylor scores that third touchdown. Like, it just kind of opens up that kind of questioning everything where, okay, maybe we're not like dropping fly balls in the 1918 World Series or 1919 World Series. Like, maybe we're not doing that,
Right.
but maybe we're doing the smaller things. I think it's a start to do the prop bets. Something that I also heard. Well, first of all, I think they should just eliminate prop bets. Period.
Yeah.
Like, or like specifically player prop. So like, if you still want to bet, okay, so the Yankees will have more than 3 home runs in a game. Like, okay, fine, bet on something like that. But like, specific player prop bets to me are too tempting for the players to not only try to take advantage of it, but also to be manipulated by it. Not
Yeah.
just like, I want to make more money, but I don't want these players to get extorted so that they're forced to do stuff that they don't really want to.
Yeah.
Um, Another possibility that I think was interesting, I heard Nick Wright say this. Nick Wright's kind of big in he's on First Things First, but he also does like a lot of like the gambling stuff and is like pretty well versed in it. He said instead of doing like an over under with player prop bets, that you can only do the over. So like instead of Class A being able to bet a ball, which like it's very easy to throw a ball, you can only bet that he can just throw a strike.
Yeah.
Or like Terry Rozier and he has to make over 4 points. Well, it's easy to do under, like fake an injury. But forcing him to make sure that you go over is something different. So I don't know if they'll do that. I do think that something still needs to be done. I will give a lot of credit to Major League Baseball for saying, okay, this came out, but we're doing this immediately, which the NBA hasn't changed anything yet.
No.
Um, but
Yeah.
also, I think it's safe to say both Ortiz and Class A, they're never stepping foot on a Major League Baseball field again.
I think the only way they do, if because you hit on a really good point at the beginning there, is if there's proof that their lives were being threatened or their families were being threatened, right? That's the only way I could see. But it doesn't appear that that's the case because both these guys, and this is what I find really shocking, is that both these guys were using their own accounts, their own phones, and their own bank accounts where they were getting the money. They weren't hiding this. You know, it was almost like they were looking to get caught. It's just really, really odd to me. And I'll say this, and then we'll get ready to wrap up this part of the story. Um, Class A wasn't as good last year. In fact, he wasn't nearly as good as he had been the previous 2 years. And you just wonder, right, what the concentration was, right? If you're, professional athletes, you and I just watch, right? But we see professional athletes have to be laser focused on what they're doing. And if your mind is on, oh, I need to throw a ball here or something in the dirt, even, um, is your mind still focused? Okay, now I got to get Andy Pajes out or Mookie Betts out. It's hard to flip switches like that, and you have all this going on. And these guys are texting, Ortiz is texting, both of them are texting from in their bullpen. They're not even supposed to be on their phones. And they're sitting in the bullpen texting some of this stuff. I mean, how are you really focusing on the game, which to me makes sense that Class A had that fall off that he had this past year. Um, I think that here's the thing. I think baseball that was a good step, right? That they took. But it is no coincidence, Ken. We hadn't heard about betting stuff for years since Pete Rose, right, in baseball. And then the last few years, think about it. Now, college basketball's had some stuff. They had that Arizona State scandal, a few other things. This was before the NIL money. And the guy from Arizona State, he looked in the camera and said, "Listen, I needed the money. I mean, I'm a college kid, and they're telling me they're going to give me $30,000. How am I going to turn that down? But that's kind of now out of the realm. But can sports now look at the major sports, look at and say, since we have been in bed now, and bed is a harsh term, but you know what I mean. They have these sponsors, FanDuel and MGM and all of these apps, and they're so easy all of a sudden, I mean, I can't keep track now about how many players now have been caught between what happened in the NBA. And again, you said it earlier, a coach, Chauncey Billups being caught. I mean, we had David Fisdale here, who we know wasn't involved in any betting scandal, but we were following along when he would take guys out of the game when they started doing well because he was tanking games, right? He won the number one draft pick. So what's the next step for you in your mind that not just baseball but sports has to take? Because if fans start to get the idea that games are fixed, I mean, you will lose fans in droves. I won't watch.
Yeah, especially like if you think that it's not like people are on level playing field,
Right.
you got to it's hard because they really need to fix something where it is a little bit more uptight. Because the bottom line is too, all of these guys they get training every year on what's allowed and what's not
Yeah.
allowed when it comes
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
gambling.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they can't plead ignorance, and they know
Oh,
what's at stake.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
also, the leagues know what's at stake. Major U.S. sports leagues collectively stand to gain an estimated $4.2 billion annually
That's
in
crazy.
total direct and indirect revenues as a result of legalized sports gambling.
That's crazy.
And and that's only going to go up as more because I think it's 38 states that have legalized it.
Yeah.
Um, it's just they've got to figure out something.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the solution is because, like, you're right, they are in bed with these gambling
Yeah.
companies. Like ESPN, I texted you right after we gotten off last week. ESPN had Bet ESPN. They have since they're shutting that down as of I believe December 1st
Right.
to sign a much bigger deal with DraftKings.
Yeah.
And the one that they signed with this random place, I forgot the name of it, was 10 years for I think $1 billion or something like
That's
that.
crazy.
So
It's so much
it's only
money.
going to get bigger.
Yeah, you texted me also a picture when ESPN was breaking the story with Ortiz and Class say that the scroll underneath was talking about, what bets to place and stuff like that. Listen, it is an illness. I get that, right? Gambling is an illness. Every once in a while, if I jump in the car Saturday morning, Craig Carton still has that show on FAN here that he does. God bless. I'm sure he doesn't have to do that anymore, but he still does. And he talks about all the time that it's an illness and it's not about the money. I mean, for Class A, for $14,000 when you potentially are going to make over $100 million. I mean, it's not about the money, but it's about something, and hopefully the story will come out. Here's my last thing, though, Ken. Why have we not heard anything from Rob Manfred yet on this? He needs to get, I mean, and they're having the GM meetings, right? These last couple of days. Why can't he get in front of people and say, this is unacceptable? Maybe it's a legal thing. Maybe he can't say anything yet. But I'm just wondering, why haven't we heard from him on this? This is a big, big deal. I mean, these are one a star pitcher. I mean, arguably, and not even arguably, last year was not this past year, but 2024 was by far the best closer in baseball. A big star, all-star several years now. And you would think that he would get, in front of the camera and say something. What are we doing about this, But we haven't heard anything from him yet. Again, that could be a legal thing. I don't want to kill him on that, but all right. A lot to cover there.
Um,
Yeah,
one
okay.
also thing to add, we saw it both in the NBA and MLB. Their investigations were like, oh well, I don't know. But then the FBI gets involved and it's like, no, we have all of this evidence. And obviously, like, leagues don't have subpoena powers and everything like that.
Yeah.
But it is a little bit concerning when leagues can't really fully police their players in that way, especially when you're talking about like in the industry of like insider trading and like all of the fraud, conspiracy, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. It's a mess, and it's gonna get worse until they straighten this out. And you're gonna get more and more star players. As it is, Terry Rozier, is he a star? He never has been, but he's a good NBA player. Chauncey Billups is in the Hall of Fame. And I mean, I'm not laughing at that, but my goodness, what are they waiting on? Uh, anyway, here's my last question for you. I know they're going to announce the MVP in the next day. I think that's tomorrow, right? MVP.
yeah,
Cy Young is tonight, right? I think we know who the Cy Young winners are going to be. Uh, AL MVP to me is fascinating. We talked about it a lot. We haven't in about a month now. Your final call is Aaron. Do you really think that Aaron Judge is going to get it? I know you think he should get it. Do you think he is going to get it? Or will they give it to Cal Raleigh and his 60 home runs?
I think that I think because the numbers are close enough, I do think Judge will get it.
Okay. All
Because
right.
like it would be different if like Judge was batting, if he was like 325 with like 48 home runs and 103 RBIs, but like yeah, it's six less home runs and missed a month of this season.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Cal Raleigh wins it, but I will be annoyed because in 2017, Jose Altuve had the better. He didn't even have better numbers, but higher batting average. But Judge broke the AL rookie record for home runs. He's
Yeah.
having an excellent season and wasn't being told the pitches by the garbage can, and yet still lost. So just
You,
pointing this out, if he loses this, he will have two, but should have had four.
you're not bitter about this at all. I could see 8 years later, you've totally forgotten it.
Nah,
You put it behind you. The
But yeah,
just
I
think,
mean, Cy Young tonight.
oh, it's going to be Scooble and Skeens.
Yeah, Scooble, future Yankee Scooble, future Yankee Skeens. Which one would you take?
Well, the Pirates said we appreciate all the phone calls we're getting, but we're not trading him. Which God bless them. Now I hope they don't. I mean, at some point, right? These middle market teams hold on to your best players. I feel that way even stronger now after watching that Montreal Expos, documentary on Netflix. The Expos, if they had been able to hold on to Tim Raines, Andre Dawson, Pedro Martinez, Gary Carter, I mean, who knows what that team would have been? The
I
Pirates trade,
agree,
yeah,
but like the Pirates aren't adding anybody, and their owner is rich. Like he
I
can
know.
afford to bump up
Yes,
the
he
payroll.
can. Yes, he can, which is terrible. I mean, they should be adding players. Listen, closing out the baseball thing, I hate to say this, and I love Aaron Judge, but I think they're going to give it to Cal Raleigh tonight. Is it tonight, tomorrow? I think they're going to give it to Cal Raleigh, and I think the one factor is that he's an everyday catcher. I think that's I think they're going to look at all the stats and say, Judge is better here, better here, better here. This guy had an historic season, and oh, by the way, you know, he's Johnny Bench, Roy Campanella. He's a catcher, and he's every day, and think about the wear and tear. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think what he did was all world, but I think when you had went over all of the stats that those folks look at, and like you said, Judge had what, four, six less home runs? He had 54 home runs, right?
Yeah,
And he was out for a little while too, so chances are he would have hit 60 at least, But I think catcher is going to be the definitive. I hate to tell you that, but I don't think the National League is going to be close. I think Otani is going to. I know Juan Soto is a finalist, so is Kyle Schwarber, but Otani they're going to give it to again. Deservedly so. I don't want to say it like that. I think both. It would be fascinating if there's a tie that only happened once in history with Willie Stargell and Keith Hernandez. That would be fascinating. It's not likely at all, but that would be fascinating. I think this is going to be the closest vote since then, though. That'll be my prediction. But I think Raleigh will win it. Um,
yeah. I think it'll be really close.
all right, let's switch over to football because I want to give you some time here. Dable gets let go, and um, you weren't surprised at all. In fact, I think I texted you before you got the alert, and you didn't seem not at all shocked. I think the Giants were fair. I think they gave him a lot of time. He became a little bit too. I really like Dable. I wanted to see him succeed. He became a little bit too skittish on the sidelines for me, though. The whole peeking in the booth and then going crazy and throwing his earphone down. He became a little bit too unhinged for me. I know that means he cares and he wanted to win, but um, I think what the Giants did. The Giants aren't firing happy, although they've had some bad coaches over the last several years. But I don't think Daboll was one of them. I don't know that Daboll will immediately get another head coaching job, but someone will hire him as an offensive coordinator. I think again because I think he knows his stuff. I think he's a smart football guy. But I mean, you could have waited till the end of the year, but I see why they didn't. I don't know. He lost his mind when not going for the touchdown on the half-yard line. I couldn't figure that out. And I happened to turn at that moment. And I'm like, he's declining the penalty and he's going to go for a field goal. I was like, you got to be kidding me. You can put the game away here. And the Giants was so close in four games. Four games, they had the double-digit lead in the fourth quarter. And so your total thoughts here on Daboll and where do the Giants go from here?
I'll start with Dayball. I mean, he was pretty good to start. Um, I think the only place that he has a shot at a head coach next year is if Buffalo really starts taking a turn and Josh Allen's like, I want that guy. Especially since he's kind of the guy that helped build him up.
Yeah.
So Brian Dable started off his Giants career at 7-2. Since that moment, he was 13-38 the rest of the way.
My gosh.
Um, so I have this up. I sent this to you. The Giants lost all of these games this year. Um, they were up by 3 against the Cowboys with 14 seconds left in the fourth. They're up 14-3 on the lowly Saints. Um, the infamous up 26-8 with 5 minutes left to go in the game against the Broncos. And then last week or on Sunday, up 20-10 with 3 minutes left, a little under 4 minutes left in the fourth. All of those games are winnable. And my crazy bold prediction about the Giants winning the division wouldn't have been so crazy
No.
if instead of at 2-8, they were, I don't know, 6-6.
Yeah.
Or I guess that doesn't work. Like, oh no, they would
Five and
be six and
five.
four, five
Yeah.
and five.
Or even 5 and 5. Let's say they won three of those instead of all four, you know?
Yeah, like it just. I think that the game management was a big piece. Also, Jackson Dart has been in concussion protocol so many different times this year. And a lot of it is because of the design runs. And I know that's part of his game. And I know that that's how he plays. But also sometimes you have to protect the quarterback from themselves. And at the rate he's going to be out of the league quicker than Tua with concussion.
Yeah.
And that doesn't help anything. Um, I the mid-season thing doesn't surprise me as much. I feel like the Giants years and years ago didn't do that, but since Ben McAdoo benched Eli Manning to end his streak, to have good old Geno Smith, who's really tearing it up in Vegas right now. Um, Ever since that happened, and then the next day, McAdoo gets fired, I don't think they have an issue with it. I think also there's a 2-8. It's very hard to make it at 9-8 into the playoffs, and I think the Giants' playoffs hopes are all but gone.
Yeah.
But you want to take at least a little bit of momentum into next year, and you kind of hope that. Well, let's see if Mike Kafka can get us where we need to go.
Yeah.
Um, I don't. Here's what I want. I want to see an offensive-minded coach. I feel like defensive-minded coaches don't really work out as well. But also, I don't know. They might say we're going to go old school. We're going to go with defensive-minded coach and hope that our quarterback can make it work
Yeah.
and focus on just kind of making the defense and making it work. Um, the only thing I would say that isn't necessarily Dayball's fault, you did lose your star running back
Yeah.
and your star wide receiver,
Yeah.
and now also your quarterback. So it's kind of hard to win that way.
Yeah.
But life does come at you fast. We go from being coached by Dayball with Jackson Dart as quarterback to Jameis Winston and interim head coach Mike Kafka this weekend. So
Yeah.
that'll be fun.
It will. And as much as I love Russell Wilson, man, boy, he's shot. He hasn't been good for a while since he went to Denver. Um, and Jameis, I thought, had an excellent year there in Cleveland last year, especially that Monday night game against Denver, right, where it was just a shootout. So I'm glad to see him get a shot here. So let me ask you. I threw some names at you by text. Um, is Belichick an option? Because this is where he started. He won Super Bowls here with under Parcells. He always loved it here. Do you take a shot? He'll be 70. He's 73 now. He's got the baggage now with his girlfriend. North Carolina seems to have turned it around a little bit. They're 4-5. Um, does he still have a couple of good years left in him to come to the Giants? What do you think?
If you're talking defensive coach, he would fit, but I think his time has passed. I
Okay.
think even the last couple of years in New England weren't that great. However, if he were to come back, and let's just say history tends to repeat itself, and you have, I don't know, the Giants and the Patriots in the Super Bowl, that would be fun.
Wow. Man, you went way. You took a few leaps there. That would be a lot of fun. John Gruden, is he ever going to get another shot? And would you take a flyer on him? He's still young enough.
I'd take a flyer on him. I just don't think that they're going to give him another shot.
Okay. Okay. Um, I threw a name at you only because, and he didn't have a successful year last year, but when he was interim, he seemed pretty good, and but he's a giant, Antonio Pierce.
Yeah, I feel like he's more of a coordinator at this point as opposed to a head coach.
Okay,
Um,
okay,
he just needs a little bit more experience, I think.
okay. All right. So to me, this is the guy that I'm going to bounce at you now. I think it's a little bit of a no-brainer, and that's Mike McCarthy. Do you bring him in?
He would be very high on my list. I think that he's a good head coach. I do think the New York media might roast him a little bit, but also he was in Dallas, so I think he could probably.
Yeah, I think he can handle it in New York. There was one other name that I threw at you that I'll throw at you now, and I've always kind of been puzzled that he didn't get another shot because he wasn't terrible with the Rams, and that's Steve Spagnuolo, and he's had just remark. Now you said offensive, he's a defensive guy, so but he's had remarkable success with the Chiefs for a long time, and he was very highly regarded when he left the Giants. He goes to the Rams and doesn't do a great job there, but he wasn't a total disaster. Would you give a guy like that a shot to come back home here?
I would. I think he's also a. He seems like one of those guys. Okay, head coach, excellent coordinator.
Yeah, it could be.
Um,
Could be.
but also like, hey, if you want to come and do the defense and make our defense good again,
Yeah,
I'm in.
yeah, of course. So it's gonna be very interesting. So overall, you would say the firing of Daboll was what? Fair? Not fair?
Yeah, I would say it's fair. Each of the last 3 years, the Giants started out 2-8. It's it's very hard to keep your job with that level of success. Like
Yeah,
we're talking a 200 winning percentage, 3 straight years to start out the season.
yeah.
It's hard to do. It's hard to do that.
The Giants need to land on their guy because I look at the history of them. Um, not the very, very long history back in the 70s, but I look at like from the 80s on, Parcells was there until Parcells just didn't want to be there anymore, right? Um, and then Dan Reeves was there for a long time, and then Tom Coughlin was there for a long time. And so the Giants, a little bit old school. They're still the original owners, family. So they're a little bit Packers, a little bit, Steelers, the Bears, still kind of the old school NFL guys who don't believe in changing the Steelers, definitely. Um, but it's like the last few years, I thought Mara was very patient with Daboll because I think he would have been well justified in letting him go last year. And you and I don't really like that, but I think that here he was fair. I think that you've got some talent on this team, albeit some of them are hurt or whatever, but you've got a potential all-world wide receiver that'll come back. You got a potential all-world quarterback who can't be as reckless, to your point, and you've got a potential all-world new running back that you just lost one of the best of all time in Barkley 2 years ago. So and they've got some playmakers on defense. So there's a foundation here for the Giants that I'm not sure that Daboll was able to totally tap into for whatever reason. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and here's my only other worry. Saquon obviously last year leaves, wins a championship. Daniel Jones leaves in Indianapolis in contention for the 1 seed. Dayball, if he goes and whether he's offensive coordinator, head coach somewhere, and kills it, like what does that mean for Joe Shane and
I
the
don't know.
GM? I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
infuriating to see.
yeah. They tend to hold on to their GMs for a long time too, the Giants. So, and there's part of me that really, really likes that. I think that you got to give people a chance to grow. If you've done this search and you think you have the right person, you got to give them a little bit of room. But as Parcells said years ago, you are what your record says you are. And at some point, Shine's record is not great either. So, all right, I got to ask you this before we pull up your slide, and that is, I mean, I couldn't believe the Browns jumped off sides, and they had a couple of other really bad penalties on those last couple of drives that they were doing. I mean, and listen, their defense is good. I mean, they gave up the two touchdowns on special teams, which rarely happens in the NFL, right? But they gave up not one, they gave up two of them. Other than that, their defense was holding the Jets pretty much in check. But there was no way. I mean, anybody sitting there watching the game, you know that um, they're not going to snap the ball. You know, they're just trying to draw you off sides, and they go off sides. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And I feel bad for the coach because the coach seems like he knows what he's doing, and he doesn't. You know, he's stoic, right? He's a little stoic on the sidelines, but you know, inside he's like, I just did that really just happen? You know, what's the word there in Cleveland on the Browns?
It's weird because this particular loss really, like, Browns fans are already really upset in the direction of this team. And like watching Joe Flacco ball out in Cincinnati, Shadur Sanders, who was originally going to be picked high, but still hasn't even come close to stepping on the field, is sitting there. Dylan Gabriel doesn't look like he has it. And then you face the Jets, a team that traded away their top quarterback and their top defensive lineman, and you still can't pull off the victory. And they only won one game. Like, no shot to the Jets. A win's a win, and they totally deserved it. But like, this is, I think, the win that got Browns fans from being like kind of apathetic, like, oh well, it's the Browns too. Oh my gosh, why is this team so awful all the time? And they make me want to just punch everyone. Um, and it is infuriating because the
Yeah,
you had mentioned the offsides, but before that, um, they had made the stop. They were about to get the ball back, but a hold that had nothing to do with the play
yeah.
gave the Jets another first down,
A
which, like,
defensive holding, which you don't see often, right?
yeah, and down the field, like,
On the
you
field.
didn't have to, you just didn't have to touch the guy.
Yeah,
Like, the play wasn't even close to you.
yeah.
Um, so I think that it's really gotten to that point. I'm not sure if they're going to keep Stefanski or not. He once again has said that Dylan Gabriel's starting this week. At some point, you got to put out Shador because
What do
Dylan
you have to
Gabriel
lose?
just doesn't look like he has it.
Yeah, what do you have to lose at this point, you know? Um, the Jaguars also, I don't know if you saw the end of the Jaguars and Texans game, and they also had they had a hands to the face penalty, and then they had pass interference after they had stopped them. And it was another play where you really didn't have they were doing this hand fighting they call it now, but he was clearly holding him too. But you know the pass was well out of his reach, and I don't know, and the Jags have talent as well. All right, let's get into your rankings here. Let me pull that up and share and take it away, sir.
Alrighty. Well, I went with five this week because that's just kind of what I went with.
And you're getting a lot of comments. Actually, I'm getting a lot of comments. So we appreciate that, right? But I didn't know anybody in that chain. But the consensus was you're overrating the Denver Broncos, which I thought was ridiculous. I didn't respond, but I'm like, they have the best record in football. What? How's that overrating? I mean, I don't get it. But anyway, go ahead, take it away.
Well, I guess context is important too,
Yeah,
because what someone said was, how are they ranked this high after such an awful Thursday night performance?
but they won.
I made this before the game happened.
Yeah,
So
they still won.
relax.
Yeah, they didn't
And
lose.
they still won.
Yeah, they won. And you made a great comment back to me. You said, good teams figure out how to win when they aren't playing well. And so that showed that the Broncos are a very good team, man. Anyway, go ahead.
They also have, like, they're tied for the highest winning streak in the NFL,
I,
which I'm not going to talk about the other team right now because they are not that high. All right, I like that Ohio State wide receiver. Um, you might not be looking for a wide receiver. You might be looking for a
he's very,
quarterback, whatever you're looking
yeah.
for. Um, these teams that you don't care about your team anymore. You care about who's going to join this team next year. Um, right now, the only team with one win is the Tennessee Titans. Uh, everyone else is kind of coupled with two, and it'll be interesting to see who kind of finishes with that number one overall pick.
Well, that was a
Um,
great win for the Dolphins, though. You gotta give it up. Now, do the Dolphins now have 3 wins or 2?
I think they have three. Yeah, they have three.
Okay. I think they
Um,
still belong there, but I mean, for them to come out and go up and beat them in Buffalo, I thought that was that was a tribute that they're still listening to this coach, I think.
yeah, which will be very interesting to see if he stays
Yeah,
moving forward.
yeah,
I don't think he will. I think he also, I would take him as an offensive coordinator.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know as a head coach. He's a little wacky, but um, I do want to point out with the Browns have the second best defense according to some different ratings, depending on how you look at it, like defensive points allowed or something like that. So, like you said, the Browns defense is good. Offense, not so much.
Yeah.
Um, there's another team I wanted to point out in this. Yeah. So another stat on the Giants. The Giants are 0-4 when leading by 10 points on the road this year, which is sad.
That's great.
Uh,
Yeah,
so I don't know. We talked about them, so I'm not going to go that much into them.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I think a lot of these 8 teams, it's just at this point, if something else is more positive, we're looking towards that. We're not watching.
yeah, yeah.
Battling the 2025 Guardians. These 4 teams, they kind of have to challenge the channel the come from behind aspect and kind of do something historic to make it there.
Mm-hmm.
Washington, I don't know if they've got it because
No,
Jaden Daniels probably out for the year.
yeah,
Don't look now, but maybe Joe Burrow comes back.
yeah, yeah.
We'll see.
He was at practice. Yeah,
Um, but if he comes back, that could be dangerous. Cowboys too. I mean, there's a path for them to make it back into the playoff picture, but more than likely not.
yeah,
They would need like a quite the run.
yeah,
Um, and then you got Minnesota. Minnesota, it's a little less about their team, but the fact that their division is so good.
yeah.
And yeah. All right, next tier. It's not over. These 6 teams aren't in the playoff picture, or one is technically, but um, there's still a very good possibility that any of these 6 teams could make the playoffs, and it wouldn't surprise me. You have obviously the Panthers there. I wanted to point out with the Falcons. Um, Falcons right now have a 4-game losing streak, but they're facing the Panthers, the Saints, and the Jets as their next 3.
Huh.
So they could turn it around, and you could be looking at like I don't know, 7 wins,
Yeah,
8 wins, and you could be right back in the mix.
yeah.
I think the Ravens are the team out of this that like probably has looked the best, especially the last two
Oh, yeah,
weeks. Their
yeah.
defense has really turned it on. Um, you mentioned the Texans. The Texans had their biggest comeback in franchise history on Sunday.
Yep.
Um, watching that and seeing Nick Chubb with a gigantic run,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
that
Big
was not
run.
fun.
Yeah. Yeah, but that was a big run at that time too. Wow. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
49ers are there. Mac Jones continues to just ball out, even though like Brock Purdy is maybe hurt, but not really. I don't know. They've
But
been weird with his injury.
in that second half, they didn't because that game was on here. They didn't even look like they belonged on the field with the Rams. And it's, I mean,
Nah.
they made a great comeback. I mean, they were down 21-0 before you blinked, and they came back. But I mean, that second half, the Rams just smoked them. I know. So you got the Rams up top there, so I know you'll get to them. But
Yeah,
yeah,
the Rams have been amazing. But yeah, that one was a toughie. Um, and at some point you can think that maybe they'll get healthy, but also maybe not. I have the Jags here because yes, they technically are still in the playoff picture. They would be the 7th seed right now. But also Travis Hunter is out for the year.
yeah,
There
yeah,
just kind of seems like there's something off.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I don't know.
They have to learn how
The
to win, I think, the Jags, because they've got talent. They've got a good young coach. but they just couldn't put the Texans away with a backup quarterback, which was surprising, you know?
Yeah. And yeah, you're right. I think it just takes a little bit of time to learn how to win.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence has had what, three, four head coaches throughout his career. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
he also needs to have a little bit of consistency.
This coach will be there for a while, I think.
Yeah, even though he's weird.
Yeah.
He's not as weird as Mike McDaniel though. Next year should make the playoffs. So um one of the comments it said like, oh, like how do you have this many teams from this particular division?
Yeah.
I don't know how we can. I did make sure all of the teams from the top two tiers can all feasibly make the playoffs.
Yep.
Um, but I do think you're going to have, oh, that was the one, the AFC West. You have the Chiefs, who, if the Chiefs miss the playoffs, it's going to be the most stunning thing that we've seen in the last few years.
Right.
Then you have the Chargers, who have been really good, and you have the Broncos, who have been really good. So it's hard to say, oh, well, like you're going to probably have three, especially since out of the North, it's probably going to be whoever wins it, assuming that's the Steelers, maybe the Ravens.
Yep.
And I don't know, in the South, you might have just the Colts, you might have Jacksonville,
Yeah.
but these teams should make the playoffs.
Yeah.
I'll get back to the Lions because the Lions were kind of, I was debating between them and Seattle for that last spot. I do want to highlight a few others though. The Bills. The Bills had two losses by 10 or more points in the last four games.
Hmm.
In their previous 60 games, so you're talking like almost 5 seasons, they only had one such loss when they got blown out by Baltimore. This
Wow.
team doesn't get blown out, but I don't know. Something kind of seems a little bit off. And maybe
Yeah.
they could be that fool's gold team a little bit. I still have them up there.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. They'll be in the playoffs.
yeah. And the Patriots, people will probably
Oh,
have a bit of an issue with that.
yeah.
It's really hard for me to say that they're better than Indy or better than Denver right now. However, I do think that they can end up as the top seed because they have a very easy schedule.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, I think the biggest thing with the Patriots is they haven't played the best of the best teams. And part of that's just like it's a strength of record from last year, and they're going to have an easy schedule. But give it a couple more weeks. Also, like the Drake May for MVP talk is getting louder, and
Oh, yeah. He's been
rightfully
great,
so.
though. Yeah. He's been great.
I want to point out also the Bears. Caleb Williams right now is on pace to be the first ever 4,000-yard quarterback for the Chicago Bears in their franchise
Wow.
history.
Wow.
So good for them. Yeah.
He's
So
so erratic, though. I'll just say that real quick about Caleb Williams. I think he's going to be a great quarterback, but he's just right now, he's just so erratic. It's either feast or famine with him. You know, there's no in between. He either makes a terrible play or you see him running in like that last touchdown. I mean, he's just kind of erratic. But listen, the Bears, look how far up they are.
yeah, and if they were in any other division, they would probably be the division leader.
Yeah.
Um, because they're 6-3, and I don't know, maybe 10 wins gets that division. But coming up for them, they've got the Vikings, the Steelers, the Eagles, Packers.
Yeah.
Not an easy next four, but I think they should still be able to knock a few of those
Yeah.
out. Uh, I want to talk also last one, and then I'll get to the top tier. We'll talk real quick about the Chiefs. The Chiefs probably need about 10 wins to make the playoffs. Because like 10-7 will probably get you in the NFC. I think I might see 5 more wins on their schedule. They've yet to play the Broncos. Let's assume that they split. Because like most of the time, especially good division teams, they probably will split.
Mhm.
They also play the Cowboys on a short week. They play the Texans, they play the Titans, and they play the Raiders.
Hmm.
That's another 4 games.
Yeah.
I think that they're gonna make it. They've looked still kind of shaky, but I think that they'll make it.
Yeah.
All right, top tier. Let's start with the Broncos. The Broncos, I think one of the main reasons why I have them up here, according to Pro Football Focus, they're top rated offensive line. When you have the best offensive line, you can do a lot. You can hide a lot of flaws, whether you're talking with the quarterback, the running back, whatever. So I think that they're going to just stay up. The team that I had the hardest time to justify to me was the Eagles. Because like I can't really tell you why they're good, other than they're defending champions and they're 8-2.
Yeah.
Because like they haven't played well, they haven't looked great, but yet kind of like what we talked about before, they know how to win games.
Still winning.
And
Yep.
like you can win a 10-7 game, or you can turn the ball over 3 times and still pull off a victory. I think that's why I have them up there.
Yeah.
The Colts also, Jonathan Taylor.
Oh,
If I were to vote for MVP, he would be my vote.
that
You
run
know,
was,
in his career,
yeah.
that was insane.
Yeah.
Like, um, in his career, he's played 77 games and has had 73 touchdowns.
Wow. That's amazing.
He's incredible. Uh, the biggest debate I had, though, was whether to put the Seahawks there or the Lions. And then I have a fun stat about the Rams. Uh,
Yeah, no,
to me, like,
I'm good with those teams. Go ahead. Yeah.
it was really tough because I think Seattle has been really good, but also so has Detroit.
Hmm.
But Seattle's had 2 losses. They had a weird fluke week 1 loss where with like the weird fumble where they lost to the 49ers. And then their only other loss was Baker coming back because of a bad interception late. Um,
Yeah.
Detroit, they were blown out by the Chiefs, and they've also lost twice to their division.
Yeah.
That's kind of the only reason why I was like, okay, well, Seattle, they have the better record. They have, I think, better overall, like both offense and defense, but very close. Last, I'll say on the Rams, congratulations to Matt Stafford on his career with the win that he had on Sunday. He is at 500 for the first time in his career.
Wow.
And that is not a joke.
Wow. He's just at 500 for the first time. And he did a lot of losing in Detroit, I remember. Yeah. Even though he was
Yeah.
doing well. Yeah. Wow. Okay. That's an interesting stat. All right. Great job as always on these. Stop sharing. And it's that's not an easy task every week, juggling that around. What are you going to be watching? Here you go. Well, Thursday night, the Jets at New England. I'm going to try to watch that, although potentially the Pats could blow the Jets out, as they are. I think New England is legitimately good. 1 o'clock Sunday, Tampa Bay at Buffalo.
This is the prove it bowl.
Yeah,
Because I think both of these teams have had a lot of questions. The the Buccaneers have had a lot of really close games. The Bills have only really beaten up on bad teams. So this is the prove it bowl.
I
Um,
the Prove It Bowl. I love that. I think you're right. I don't think that game will be on here in New York at least. Oh, it might be because the Jets are playing Thursday night. Um, Chicago at Minnesota.
this is one of those games where Chicago's not used to it, but they're the team that should win this game.
Yeah, yeah. And I think if the Bears win this and not like in the last second, like they've been doing all these games, I think people will start to take them a lot more seriously. The very angry, or what will be the very angry Green Bay Packers here to take on the Giants and their interim coach, but also with Jameis Winston. What are you thinking?
And I want to see Jameis Winston ball out and
Yeah,
like throw for 3 touchdowns, 350 yards, and 2 picks.
yeah. And the Packers have had some bad losses. These last 2 losses, right, to Carolina and then to on Monday night against the Eagles, where their offense really didn't do anything all night. All right, there's a few huge games at 4 o'clock, one at 4 and then one 4:25. The big game at 4 is Seattle at LA to take on the Rams.
Yeah, you could be looking at whoever wins this wins the division.
Yeah,
Um, I lean Seattle a little bit. They are undefeated on the road.
yeah,
But also Matthew Stafford, if he has a great game, I think could probably take the. He probably has the inside track for MVP because they
yeah.
don't give it to wide receivers or running backs.
I think that's going to be such an entertaining game, but the big one with a lot, and you said it right. The Chiefs have more rides on them than on Denver. Kansas City at Denver at 425.
Yeah, this is it's not the Chiefs season because I mean, like I said before, they'll probably split against Denver, whether
Yeah,
they can take it on the road or whatever. But
yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah,
I think the Chiefs will probably pull this off.
yeah. Let's see if that championship heart comes out there in Mile High. Um, Sunday night, Detroit at Philly, and Philly has not. You made that point. Philly has not been playing well, but they've been winning. Big game for the Lions for sure. What do you think?
Yeah, this is I think it's one of the bigger games for the Lions just to kind of show, yeah, we're for real. Because
Yeah,
yeah, I think if the Eagles win, it's gonna be like I think if the Eagles lose, there'll be a lot more questions about whether they're actually good.
yeah,
But
yeah,
definitely a big game for the Lions.
yeah. Okay. We've got just a couple of NBA notes I wanted to throw at you, and we'll get a little bit more on NBA next week because the Knicks are starting to play very well, and I think we can start to talk about, and we see some of the teams now after these first 10 games, 11 games, starting to really form a little bit. OKC looks unbeatable. I think they've lost one game, but Paul Tagliabue passed away at 84 years old. He was the commissioner of the NFL before Roger Goodell. And Tagliabue, there was a different feel when he would talk. He seemed like he cared about the players. No knock on Goodell. He's done a phenomenal job, especially making the money. He's had some missteps with some of the domestic abuse stuff and now the CTE stuff, but I think he's done a good job overall. But Tagliabue took over for Pete Rozelle, who was like a legend, and so Tagliabue had to really follow in some big footsteps, and I thought he did a really good job. He wasn't a guy that you talked about a lot like Goodell. You see him on everything. Tagliabue, you didn't. So I think that's a loss for the sport. He was 84 years old. When you jump into the NBA, Kenny, I don't know. I was trying to think of an example I could give you of the late 70s New York Knicks because Michael Ray Richardson passed away. Michael Ray Richardson, they drafted him out of Montana, of all places. And this guy, I mean, he was such a good player. He was tough. Um, he could score, but he was a great defensive player. He made the All Star game, I think, three times with the Knicks, I think once with the Nets. He was a four-time All Star. But then he had a mixed legacy. When he was with the Knicks, some drug problems cropped up. But then he wanted a new contract. The Knicks had did a sign and trade with the Warriors. The Knicks really wanted Bernard King, who had straightened his life out. He started off with the Nets, and he had drug issues. They shipped him off to Golden State, and the Knicks really wanted to bring him back to New York because he had straightened his life out, and he was just a prolific scorer, a great player. And the Warriors matched, the contract offer, right? And so then they did a sign and trade, and a lot of people in New York were not happy. The sign and trade was Michael Ray Richardson straight up for Bernard King, and Richardson played with the Warriors, I think, 1 year. Then he played with the Nets his last few years, and then as I sent you, where his legacy was a little mixed. In 1986, he became the first NBA player ever to be banned for drug use. And so they kicked him out of the league. I think they reinstated him in 1988, but he said he didn't want to go. He continued to play overseas. He played for a long time. He played for like 20 years, but never back in the NBA again. But real quick, when you think about the Knicks teams from championship teams of the early 70s, that Knicks team got old relatively quick, and Dave DeBusschere became the commissioner of the ABA. Bill Bradley went on to become a senator. Dick Barnett retires. They trade Clyde to the Cavaliers of all places. Um, Earl Monroe is still left, but he's not nearly as good as he was. And so you had now, as you got to the late 70s, they tried to patch things up. Willis Reed retires. Um, but they land Bob McAdoo, who was the top scorer in the NBA. and it just wasn't a fit. McAdoo would just shoot, man, and he was a great shooter, but he wasn't a winning ball player in his time. And then they land Spencer Haywood. They try to patch it up, but it's Michael Ray Richardson who's clearly the star of these late 70s, early 80s Knicks teams. But they didn't do much. They would make the playoffs, but they wouldn't go far. They were kind of stuck in that mode until they got Patrick Ewing, in '85. So Michael Ray Richardson definitely missed. Lenny Wilkins, passed away as well. You and I remember him as coach for the Knicks, I think, for almost exactly 1 year, parts of 2 seasons. But that was not nearly. He was well past his prime then. He, he was a player coach. I don't remember if there's been a player coach since him. He was a player. Hey, buddy, what's going on, man? Um, he was a player coach with Portland, and then when he totally retired, he left Portland. He became the coach of the Sonics, and the Sonics wound up winning. They went to the finals 2 straight years. They wound up winning the NBA championship. And I'll say this real quick because Wilkins went on to just be a great coach with the Hawks, but then he coached the Cavs in the '90s, and they had a great team. They had Brad Daugherty, Mark Price, Larry Nance Sr., and Ron Harper, who then went on to play with the Bulls later, but they couldn't get past the Bulls. The famous Michael Jordan shot where then he's pumping his fists. I mean, just like the Bulls eliminated the Knicks a lot of years in the '90s, they must have eliminated the Cavs 4 or 5 straight years. And the Cavs would have 50 wins, 55 wins. They would be the number one seed in the East. They had this all world coach and these great. It just could not get past the Bulls. And so Wilkins, I think when he left the Cavs, it was a long time till he coached again. Until Isaiah Thomas calls him in the middle of the night and says, "Hey, we just fired Don Chaney. You wanna coach?" And he's like, "Okay, I'll be right there." But it wasn't a fit for the Knicks. The Knicks were really in a bad place there, and he didn't want any parts of it after a while. I mean, he was already up there in age, and so it's a big loss, both Michael Ray Richardson and Lenny Wilkins. Any thoughts on either one of those guys? I know you don't remember it. You remember Lenny Wilkins as the Knicks coach, but I know you don't remember Michael Ray Richardson.
Yeah, I didn't find out this until they announced his death.
Yeah,
He's actually in the Cavs like Ring of Honor Hall of Fame,
Lenny
whatever they
Wilkins.
call it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
So
he coached them for quite some time, man. And every year he coached them, they were contenders. They were really, really good. I mean, they had good players, but they had those same players before he became the head coach, and he just made them a really good team. I think that was probably his best. Even though he won a championship with Seattle, I thought his time in Cleveland was where he really showed he was a great coach. All right, I think we're ready for some inspiration because you got somebody there sitting on you. Mine will be really quick. My inspiration is Jameis Winston, who is starting this week. If you want to be inspired, just type in anywhere Jameis Winston videos and what I mean, the guy loves New York and he's walking up and down the streets of Manhattan, praising the Lord, asking people, "Do you know Jesus as your Lord and Savior?" I mean, some of them are funny because he'll say, "Let me see if I can make this person smile," and he'll go up and say something funny to them, and they still won't smile. Oh well. I mean, he's just becoming, and from where he came from, he had his problems at Florida State, um, and he's had a good NFL career, but not what they expected. I believe he won the Heisman Trophy. I'd have to look that back up, but he was a great college player. High expectations coming out, but now he's on back end of his career now. But he can still play, and I think he's going to do well this week with the Giants. So Jameis Winston, shout out to you. Hope you do extremely well this week.
um, he did win the Heisman 2013.
Thought so. Yeah.
And I was also going to talk about Jameis Winston. So we'll
Shout
double
out.
down on it.
Yeah.
Um, to me, one of the biggest things that sticks out to me is the verse, like, don't lose heart of doing good because in the end you'll reap a harvest if you don't give up.
Right.
I remember watching a video of his where someone was just asking uh like they were asking like how do you feel about being a third string? He's like, I don't care what place I am. I'll just be ready whenever they have me here. I've never been third string, but I've also never worn number 19, and that's what I'm wearing this year.
Yeah.
So I think it's really cool that he's just kind of been like, yeah, I'm just here having fun. And now he's getting an opportunity to show himself again.
Yeah.
I hope he does well because
Yeah.
he is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And watching him last year with the Browns is a lot of fun too. So
Yeah. 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 Well, we were on the same page today. And so now this is Onyx or Jasper? This is Onyx.
this is
Onyx,
Onyx.
what's going on, buddy? It's almost like he knows what we're talking about. He's like, all right, I'm gonna get ready to talk some sports too one day. All right, lots to do next week. You got your hands full. Kenny, take us home. He's laughing now. Go
Oh, there you go.
ahead and take us
All
home,
right.
man.
All right. This is Kenny Squared N.
It looks like you have another introduction. This is Kenny Squared and
And Onyx. And
and Kenny.
with sports on the positive tip. We'll see you guys next time.
I should have said Grandpa because he had. I said Kenny. He has no idea who that is. Yeah, see. All right.